Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we're going to do some more speaking feedback, so let's jump straight in. Good afternoon, my name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My full name is Nguyễn Phú Cường. You can call me Cường.
Okay, thank you. So I know the pronunciation of your name, it's your name, and a lot of people have a lot of personal feelings about how their name's pronounced. Sometimes if you speak a different language, you might have to change the pronunciation of your name. This is okay. In the IELTS test, you say it however you want to, but just a general point in English, right? Like one of the languages that I try to speak is Chinese. Now, I can't say 我叫 Glyn. Even though my name is Glyn, I can't say 我叫 Glyn because nobody understands Glyn. So I have to say 我叫 Gerin, Gerin. So my name in Chinese becomes Gerin, and in Russian, I have to say Меня зовут Glyn. Glyn. No, Glyn isn't my name. Glyn is my name. But sometimes when you speak other languages, you have to keep in mind that not everyone will understand your pronunciation of your own name. And so sometimes people, to avoid confusion, people might change the pronunciation of the name. But in IELTS, it's absolutely fine. Say your name however you want to say your name. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. What town or city do you live in?
I'm living in the capital of Vietnam, which is Hanoi.
Cool, I think that's fine. That's enough of an answer. I'm living in the capital city of Vietnam, which is Hanoi. That's fine. You don't need to give any extra details here.
I think this quite nice to live here.
So you're not asked here to give your opinion on Hanoi, right? The examiner will get to that. What do you like about living there, or do you like living there? You don't need to give too much extra information. I know it's always a problem. We don't want to give too little. We don't want to give too much. But I think one common mistake is that candidates are too afraid to give short answers. The first set of questions, short answers are absolutely fine. Where do you live? Oh, I live in Hanoi, which is the capital city of Vietnam. That's absolutely fine.
And probably like the best city in Vietnam.
So there's noticeable hesitation already in the candidate. It feels like he is struggling to get out all of his words. And probably as you're listening to me, it kind of feels a little bit uncomfortable or maybe even annoying. This is what we say, putting a strain on the listener. So for me, it's clear already that the candidate speaking the fluency puts a strain on the listener. What do you like most about the city?
Um, there's a lot of things I like about this city. That the most is about people. People in here is very very friendly.
I just hear people very, very friendly. I don't hear people are very, very friendly, but I don't know.
And they probably willing to help you
We've had probably quite a few times already now. I think we've had probably 3 times. So a little bit of overuse of probably.
everywhere, maybe on the street, maybe your motorbike
They're willing to help you. Cool, nice.
got flat tire, or sometimes maybe like
Cool, candidate is trying to give specific examples. All of that's very good.
you run out of gasoline. People
Cool, run out of gasoline. Nice phrasal verb, very nice.
like really need to help you.
And how has the city changed in recent times?
Um, there's also a lot of changes here, but I think the most significant thing is about the air quality.
Okay, so again, I wouldn't say the candidate is speaking at ease here. It doesn't feel like he's comfortable speaking, but the answers are good.
The air quality is have gone worse. Like
Air quality have gone worse. Air quality has got worse. Not have gone worse, but has got worse. But an attempt at using present perfect, some nice vocab with air quality.
really fast, and it's really harmful for people.
Cool, really harmful for people. All of that's really good vocab. And do you think you will continue living in this city in the future?
Probably yes, if the condition improve. But
So notice the intonation. Duh, 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 duh. I wouldn't say it's overly natural intonation. It is a little bit staccato. Again, this is both fluency and pronunciation. Two of those things are kind of, closely linked.
But if if everything getting worse,
If everything getting worse. If everything getting worse. So, if it's present continuous, if everything is getting worse, or probably the most natural here is if everything gets worse. It's probably the most natural.
probably gonna move to another country.
And again, we've had two more probablys in this answer. That now takes us probably to about five probablys. Yeah, it's okay. Everyone has a bit of, fingerprint language, the language that is unique to us. And this candidate likes the word probably. On this channel, we've seen many candidates who love the word actually or definitely, and okay. But yeah, just be a bit mindful of it.
New to the countryside.
Let's talk about food now. What's your favorite type of food?
My favorite type of food is like Asian food.
So, a really important thing to notice here, really, I think, an instructive thing to notice, when the candidate was speaking about the bad air quality, and now the candidate is speaking about his favorite kind of food, there is no difference in his emotion, right? There's no difference in the pronunciation. And one thing we might look for higher levels of pronunciation is, do I know from your pronunciation if you're talking about something that makes you happy or something that makes you sad, something that makes you afraid or something that makes you excited? And from this candidate, we don't. The pronunciation when he talks about something he doesn't like is like this, and the pronunciation when he talks about something that he does like is like this. So there is no emotive range in the candidate's pronunciation. When we're talking about air quality, we want to hear some like anger or sadness, like, oh, one bad thing about Vietnam, I guess, or Hanoi specifically, is the air quality. It's just terrible and it's like so harmful for people. Versus, what's your favorite kind of food? Oh, I really love Asian food. We want to hear that like kind of emotive range in the pronunciation.
Like
And I would say without it, you're probably not going to get that band seven, right? Everyone wants the band seven, band seven, band seven, band seven. Not everybody needs the band seven, but everybody wants the band seven. And for pronunciation, without that emotive range, you're probably not going to get the band seven.
noodles, fried rice, or sometimes like fried eggs. It's my favorite
Okay, some nice topic specific vocab: noodles, fried rice, fried egg.
food is quite simple, but I like something spicy
Cool, spicy, good stuff.
and maybe something sour, something like have strong flavorful.
Something sour, good. Something have strong flavorful. That's a bit strange. Something which is very flavorful, or something which has a strong flavor, fine, but not something that has strong flavorful.
Probably yeah, that's some kind of food that
Another probably.
I like.
And how often do you eat out at a restaurant or a cafe?
Um,
Candidate also has some background noise. I know sometimes it can't be helped, but for if any other future candidates are listening, please try to make sure that the background noise is at a minimum.
Probably every weekend is my family
I'm not going to mention probably anymore, but notice again we get another probably. So I won't mention any more probablys. I'll just let you listen to it. Keep in mind that you are overusing probably.
traditions. We spend like at least one evening in the Saturday, or maybe sometimes we can delay it to Sunday to have dinner in some in a restaurant. And sometimes I go to coffee in the
Again, we get sometimes instead of sometimes. Now, I know this is a problem with many people in Southeast Asia. Sometimes they find it difficult if there are two consonants together. Like with sometimes, we have the m and the s together, or the m and the z together. Sometimes. And so very often candidates from Vietnam and from Thailand and maybe some and from Cambodia too, they don't get that final s. So you hear sometime, you don't hear sometimes. Yeah, just happens quite often. Now this can be a problem because some people, that s is important in English. It shows singular or plural. It can also show, third person in present simple, like I like, you like, he likes. And if you're a candidate from that part of Asia, sometimes you might say something, oh, he like football, instead of he likes football, because that might be difficult. But yeah, examiners can only judge on what we hear. We can't always, sometimes for some exams, we do take into consideration where that person is from, what that variety of English sounds like, what are acceptable forms in that variety. Um, but certainly from thinking of it on a global stage, I can only judge what I hear, and what I hear is sometime, not sometimes. Even though I might understand the reason why, I can't say, oh, it's okay because the candidate is from Vietnam. I can only say that the candidate uses sometime instead of sometimes.
Morning with my dad, just chatting around. Yeah.
And have your eating habits changed since you were a child?
Um, I'm not sure if it has changed or not, but
So eating habits, that's they. I'm not sure if they have changed, not it has changed. Minor inaccuracy, but it's still there.
I think I add more
And again, you can probably see, right? You don't need a trained examiner or an experienced teacher to see here that the candidate isn't speaking with a great degree of comfort. It feels like it's difficult for the candidate, and that's kind of bad news if that's the case in part one, because we know this test starts easy and then gets more difficult.
spice into my food, uh, more than when I was a child. Um, maybe spicier or maybe
And again, sometimes you can see it on the face, right? We can see this discomfort on the face. Just watch the candidate's face here, the
was a
discomfort.
child. Um, maybe
Yeah, just look. So it's painful, it obviously it's not physical pain, but it's mentally demanding for the candidate to produce the language that I know just from speaking to this guy. I know that in his head he has a lot of English. I know that if he did a grammar test or a vocab test, he would probably get C1 and comfortably would get C1. The problem is the candidate's performance, the candidate's production, spontaneous production of speaking. This is tough for him. So the candidate knows a lot of English. I know he knows a lot of English. It's very impressive how much he knows. But of course, speaking tests measure speaking performance, doesn't measure how much English you have in your head. They don't measure. Well done, Glenn.
spicier or maybe more sour. Yeah,
Candidate has to repeat a bit of language, spicy, more sour, but okay, I guess it's fine. Let's move on.
probably that is. I don't think I have any change that rather than flavor in my food.
Let's talk about the internet then. How often do you use the internet?
Um, I use the internet quite often, except school time. I use the internet every time.
All the time, not every time.
Like in the evening, I use it to study, maybe read some news in the morning, like when I wake up. Probably it's my daily, it's like necessary thing for my life.
Not necessary, but necessary. So I know this word in English is a problem. The adjective is necessary. The noun is necessity, but the adjective is necessary. Not necessary, but necessary. So this is something we call word stress. And do you
It's
have any
an
favorite
indispensable thing.
do you have any favorite websites, platforms, or applications?
My favorite website probably is Facebook, a social media platform. I usually read news there. Also, just try to keep up with
Just try to keep up. So some of his phonological features are really nice. I love the vowel sounds. Try to. It's really Candid does have good phonological range.
trends. Like, just have some topic to talk with my friends. Yeah,
You don't get that with or get that talk with my friends with my. There's like a glottal stop attack with my friends with my. Um, there are accepted variety. There are this with my friends. It is accepted in some varieties of English, but to me, it might be a sign that candidate can't or has problems with this the and th in English. which, if you are a candidate and you have, or an English learner, and you have problems with the and then congratulations, you are like every other English language learner, because so many people have a problem with this the and sound. The good news is that in 50 years, I think this sound will be gone. Maybe 50 years, maybe 100 years, the and as English continues to expand and continues to become a more international language, I think this the and is going to disappear. But okay. And this third person s too. But don't worry. Okay, thank you. Okay, so comments on part one. Candidate certainly attempts to develop his answers and actually gives quite coherent, concise examples. I like that. However, the fluency suffers a lot. There's a lot of pain. The candidate has to rely on slow speech to get this stuff out, and this of course also affects his pronunciation, where his pronunciation becomes mechanical. There's certainly a lack of emotive range. Some intonation is there, but it's just too mechanical. Nice phonological range, but yeah, not enough intonation. Vocab is very strong. Lots of topic-specific language. Very few inaccuracies, I would say, with vocab. Grammar is all right. There are a couple of small mistakes, like single and plural a couple of times, and eating habits, using the wrong reference word, using it instead of they. It's a very minor problem. It doesn't cause misunderstanding, but there are quite a few noticeable basic mistakes, and we don't want there to be too many noticeable basic mistakes if you want to get that band 7, right? If you want to get that band 7, some mistakes with basic grammar is okay, but most of the mistakes should occur when you're attempting more complex grammar to get that band 7. In terms of range, not much. We've had a bit of present perfect, a little bit of modality, I think, mostly in present simple, some past simple. Of course, it's only part one, so we don't expect a huge grammatical range, but something to keep an eye on. So I think, I can probably give the scores right now. I think it's going to be fluency and coherence 5, vocab 7, grammar 6, pronunciation 6. That's all I think it's going to be, and I don't think I will change my mind here, but we will continue and we will look at part 2, in which the candidate has to talk about a time when he helped someone. Yeah. Okay, so that's the end of... So again, this is one of those past time ones, right? So you have an opportunity here to use past simple, past continuous, past perfect continuous, past modals, maybe even third conditionals, or reported speech, or sequence of tenses, future in the past. There's a lot of grammar that can be activated here, and we know from watching all of these beautiful videos on my channel that nobody ever activates that type of language, except for Brian. Your preparation time. To remind you, you will have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay, so it's happened just a few days earlier.
I don't love this as the start. It happened just a few days earlier. Give yourself an introductory sentence, right? So I'm going to talk to you about the time when I helped my friend Bob. Just some type of introductory sentence would be nice.
Um, the one I help is my friends, my best friend. He
My friends. Now we get the plural, but he's talking about one person. My friends.
study in the same class as mine. He
Say he study or he studies or he studied.
in the same class as mine.
Sorry.
The one I help is my friend.
The one I help, right? That's not past time.
My best friend. He study.
He study. I only hear he study, which again, very basic grammar mistake. He study.
In the same class as mine.
If you're talking about the past, he studied or he used to study. If you're talking about the present, he studies or he is studying, but not, unfortunately, he study.
He's pretty bad at math.
Love this use of pretty. He's pretty bad at math. Good.
And physics. So he asked me a lot about homework or about like
Again, he asked me a lot. Is that what we get? He asked me a lot?
so he asked me a lot about
Yeah, he asked me a lot. Again, if you have hopes to get the band 7, you just can't make those mistakes repeatedly. Uh, he ask me, he study, the most basic grammar that we have in English, present simple.
homework or about like math exercise or physics exercises. So I at first I was encouraging him to, you know,
Encouraging, not encouraging, encouraging.
just try to be focused on the lessons because his attention span is kind of short, like
Cool, love it. His attention span is kind of short. Candid has amazing vocabulary, I will say that.
really short. So and sometimes I help him does the
Again, we get that sometimes instead of sometimes.
homework. Um, just try to explain the exercise to him. Just try to help him to understand the exercise more. So
Really feels like the candidate is struggling to get the meaning across. It seems like he has an idea in his head, but he just can't, find. I wouldn't even say he can't find the grammar and the vocab. He just can't find the structure or the way to tell the story. We know that 2 minutes is a long time, and so structure is so important about how we stage it, how we set the scene by talking about introducing the subject, right? Like, oh, so I'm going to tell you about the time when I helped my friend Bob, who is a student who studies with me at high school. Right, so let's move on now and talk about how I helped them. But first, I should tell you in what I helped them. So he's really bad at maths and physics, right? And so he always needs help. And so we don't get this from the candidate. We just see the candidate is just kind of stuck in this one moment. It doesn't feel like the candidate has a broad picture that you have these 2 minutes that we should break up and we should progress. It just feels the candidate is stuck in that moment, just constantly trying to produce language to get him through the next kind of 5 or 10 seconds rather than thinking globally about that 2 minutes, which is a difficult skill, but it is just a technique. It is just a skill. And as a teacher, for me, it's one of the easiest things. Maybe one of the easiest things is to prepare candidates for part 2. It's really the place where I feel I can help them the most because structure is so important, and teaching students how to plan for part 2 and how to view part 2 as like a 2 minute block. That's, yeah, something that a good teacher can definitely help you with.
and I I I
Yeah, you can see it, right? Candidate is just stuck there, just looking for the next thing to say.
feel kind of proud about myself. You know, like when I help someone, I think that I am better than them, and
It's a very honest confession, but I think probably true for many people.
probably feel good for him to, just because we can like improve together.
Yeah, just because we can. That because we don't get because we get because.
Um, oh,
And then the candidate looks up, right? So he's looking down the whole time, trying to find that language, and then can't find it, and then kind of looks up, and it's very noticeable that the candidate is really struggling here.
yeah, and yeah,
Okay, thank you. So I decide to end it there. Candid has spoken for a bit more than a minute, so okay. Don't know exactly how long he spoke for, but it certainly didn't feel like it had a nice flow. And fluency is the thing that's killing him here. And I don't know how much preparation the candidate has had, but it seems to me clear that the candidate doesn't have a strategy for how he will fill 2 minutes in part 2. So let's everything else vocab very strong, grammar a bit more inaccurate in part 2. So while I said grammar, I felt from part 1 grammar was probably on the level of a 6. Right now it's just dropped a little bit. It's still like I would say it's a weak six now, maybe a very strong five. So right on that border between five and six. So now I have part three where I can really listen to that grammar and decide, okay, is there enough there to give a six? I always think in this way when I'm awarding marks, I'm always looking for reasons to award the marks. I'm not looking for reasons to take away. I'm just seeing what do I have enough? Is there enough evidence to give the candidate a six? Is there enough evidence to give the candidate a seven? Right now, we are right on that border between five and six for grammar. Vocab is seven, pronunciation is six, fluency is five. Could an examiner give a lower mark for fluency? Could an examiner give four? I don't think so. I still think there is enough coherence there. So for me, fluency and coherence will probably be a five. But all right, let's get to part three. So you've been talking about a time when you helped your friend. Let's talk about helping people in general now. So, firstly, why do people help other people?
Um, I think it's like they instinct to help someone that need
Cool, I like that. It's their instinct.
help because like like human is to live uh like in a like big social.
So I understand the candidate's idea here, but the idea is very, very sophisticated, right? The candidate is trying to say that humans are social animals, and so when we see someone in who needs help, we help them. And the idea is that if we help other people when we need help, then people will give us the help that we need, right? That's quite a well understood principle of sociology or anthropology or maybe even psychology, but that idea is too complicated, and I don't think the candidate has enough fluency to really. Oh, I don't think the candidate has enough strength to really explain that idea. So we should always be careful that in IELTS speaking tests, simpler ideas are your best friend. Complicated ideas are great for sitting in the bar and discussing when you have a lot of time to explain your ideas. But in an IELTS exam, if you're trying to explain super sophisticated and complicated ideas, you're probably going to run into problems. So, try not to be a smart person in IELTS. Sometimes being a smart, thoughtful person can get you into trouble.
And like helping someone is not just about like the instinct, it's also make them feel some like sense of fulfillment or like grateful. um
The real lack of energy. I think most people could probably sense this. There's just a lack of energy from the candidate.
Also like helping someone also make the people that help someone feel just good about themselves, proud about themselves. Yeah,
And do you agree that people are more helpful in small towns than big cities?
probably yes, because like in small town people are like living much more closer than people in the cities. Like there's not a lot of things that prevent them from communicate like in the city, like
Prevent them from communicating?
noise pollution and social
Cool. Noise
media.
pollution.
People just like communicate through texting or calling. But in like small town, like in the countryside, people like they live as
Get a lot of this, like. I like it. I think, of course, we don't want to overuse it, but I like the candidate's use of, like. It helps.
a huge family, so probably people will like be more closer together. Like the bond is
It's a very coherent answer. And again, lots of good vocab here. The bond, very nice.
much stronger than people in the city. So yeah, I think people in small towns probably like more helpful than people in the city.
People in small town is more. Let's just listen again.
Closer together, like the bond is much stronger than people in the city.
Much stronger than really good comparative language.
So yeah, I think people in small towns probably like more helpful than people.
I think people in small town is probably more helpful. Again, it's very basic grammar. People in small towns, plural, are more helpful, not is more helpful. Um, we expect candidates to know this verb to be, right? I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, we are, they are, a person is, people are. Um, I'm sure you know this grammar, right?
People in the city.
Mhm. And what kind of people in society do you think need the most help?
Um, I think
Again, you can kind of see pain on the candidate's face.
the most people that need help is the
The people that need most help, not the most people that need help, I guess.
disabled ones. Like sometimes that their body
Cool. I like the candidate's use of ones as a reference word. Nice.
like not functioning very well.
Yeah, the body not functioning very well. The body doesn't function, or the body isn't functioning, but not the body not functioning. Again, this is basic grammar, and I still think this. The good news is that the mistakes don't lead to a noticeable like the mistakes don't lead to noticeable confusion in the listener. It's quite easy to understand what he means when he says people is friendly. Okay, that doesn't confuse me. I understand his idea perfectly. So that might be just enough to save him to get the 6 for the grammar.
So probably they will need help from people that ask like normal well-being, like their health is good. And I think the second person that need help most is
The second person that needs, or the second group of people that needs.
elderly, because like you
Sorry, the elderly, he said.
know their body gets old and they
Again, gets old. We don't hear that final D.
cannot do things as well as they can in when they
Great comparative adverb. They can't do things as well as when they. So this is really, really nice grammar.
when they were young. So maybe like the kids will probably they probably will need help from their kids.
And whose responsibility do you think it is? I think we'll just listen to one more question because I'm fairly certain now that I have the scores in my mind. We'll just listen to one more answer. Is to help older people and disabled people.
Um, I think like maybe some kind of um, let's say maybe just about their family or more some kind of healthcare um, center like um, healthcare organizations. You know, their family can send them there, and that that kind of place will probably provide a better help than their family members.
Okay, reasonably coherent answer, but not a very fluent answer. So, quite in keeping with the rest of the test. But I think we'll, just for the sake of time, yeah, we'll get to the scores here. So, fluency and coherence. I think this one is an easy one to mark. 5. So, let's start with the positives. Your answers are generally coherent, and you show a willingness to speak at length. However, you the pauses, the mid-sentence pauses, create a consistent, I would say, strain on the listener. So I don't think you need to worry. I know some people, they're obsessed with connectors, linking words, things like this. That's not what's going to stop you. Some of your things like, like that type of stuff, those filler words, that's really good. But the thing that will hold you back are these mid-sentence pauses. Now, is there anything you can do to fix this in the short term? I don't think so. I just think you need a lot of practice. You need to train the muscles of speaking. Because at the moment, it's quite clear that I don't think you have a lot of experience of just using language as a real instrument. Lexical resource, I think we can say 7 here, absolutely. Really, really good at that C1 level for sure. Not terribly far away from an 8, I would say. So you have enough vocab. Enough. Good. Topic specific. That's the key thing here. Topic specific vocab to speak about a range of topics. Cool. Awesome. So it doesn't matter if you're talking about food or if you're talking about healthcare, you have enough vocab that you can activate to get your idea across. And a lot of it is very topic specific. Like you talk about food, you mentioned like noodles and fried eggs and spicy and sour, all good stuff. Other like less common lexes, like a short attention span, things like this. So all of that's really, really good. Like I say, not far away from the 8. And I wouldn't be surprised if an examiner perhaps gave you an 8 for lexical resource, but for me, just about 7. Grammatical range and accuracy, I'm going to give you 6 here. So you show flashes. You show flashes of C1 grammar. This like they don't work as well as they did in the past, or something like that. You said, these comparative adverbs with this as structure, like, great stuff. However, basic mistakes, or I would even say the most basic mistakes, are very noticeable and occur and happen, let's just say, very often. So it's just obvious, people is or he asked, those type of mistakes regularly, they will stop you from getting that band 7. Yeah, I think you have enough range, although maybe a little bit more complex. Just a tiny, just 2 or 3 or maybe 4 more examples of attempts at slightly more complex grammar, plus eliminating the most simple mistakes in grammar, and you would get a 7. Yeah, so grammatical range and accuracy, you could that's one that you could get up to a 7. I don't think you will get your fluency and coherence up to a 6. Lexical resource, I think 7 is strong. Grammatical range and accuracy, you can get that up to a 7, but in this one it is a 6. And pronunciation, 6. I think there are some examiners that might go even lower, but your phonological range is very strong. Is very strong. And generally, it is not difficult to understand. I don't like my punctuation here. Let's do that. Generally, it is not difficult to understand the majority of what you say. There are some regular mistakes with consonants at the end of words, and some cases of incorrect word stress. So what do I mean here? Consonants at the end of words, like sometimes instead of sometime, because those z at the end of words, you just miss them. When I talk about incorrect word stress here, incorrect word stress, encouraging versus encouraging, necessary versus necessary, just a couple of examples which were noticeable. But this is not the thing that is killing your pronunciation. You lack any real emotion and energy in your pronunciation. I know it seems unfair, doesn't it? If you're more of an introverted person, you tend to be kind of less energetic. Sorry about that. If you're more of an introverted person, not just you personally, but people in general, then you tend to be less energetic. And that feels unfair, because it's like, why should you, in a speaking test of an English test, why should you judge my personality? But having some energy, having some emotive range in your speech is something that affects your speaking, unfortunately, like it or not. And so we see that, introverts tend to score lower with things like intonation, and extroverts tend to score higher. That's just the way that it is. Yeah, so overall, band 6, I think that's fair. Upper intermediate, B2, 6.0. I think that is a fair reflection of the candidate speaking. Vocab is strong, fluency is weak, grammar and pronunciation is okay. Yeah, it's fair. Areas of improvement. Your grammar, the grammar you have in your brain, the grammar you have in your brain is good. Can you eliminate the most basic mistakes? That's a question for you. Can you do that? Can you eliminate those basic mistakes? cognitively in your brain, you understand that we say I like, you like, he likes. You understand that we say a person is, people are, cognitively in your brain. Performatively, we can't rely on you to get that right. But can you do that? Can you focus? Can you turn on that monitor inside your brain and fix that when you're speaking? Not easy to do, but it's a question for you. Um, Try to simplify your ideas. Complex ideas are really difficult to express when you have weak fluency. And I do think you have weak fluency, and it's okay. We all have strengths and weaknesses, but you have weak fluency, and so you can't go to complex ideas. If you go to complex ideas, it's just going to kill your fluency. And I really think, really, uh, really think that you need to practice speaking English regularly. There are certainly many candidates that I say just practicing isn't going to help, right? We know all language use is good practice, right? It all helps. But there are certainly some candidates where I think you can't just keep speaking with people and think that it's going to get better. It's not. You have to switch your mind on. You have to think about, other ways of expressing yourself. So there are some candidates where I say just practicing speaking isn't going to make any difference at all. For this candidate, it's the opposite. I really think this candidate needs practice with speaking. Where he can find that, I don't know. That's not up to me. As a teacher or an examiner, I can just say it's clear to me that the candidate lacks the experience of using English as an instrument, of using English to kind of get things done, whether that's playing video games and telling people like, hey, there's someone coming close to you, or hey, you go over there, or come here, I need help. Just that practice of using English in a real world setting, not in a classroom setting, not in a, fill in the gaps or do this exercise, but in some type of role play or in some type of real world situation. And I think the candidate would benefit from that so much. Yeah. So those are my three kind of tips for the candidate. But for me, overall band 6, B2, decent, but quite a distance away from the 7.0 that all candidates want. But yeah, those are my thoughts. If you agree or disagree with anything I say, feel free to let me know in the comments. Also, if you'd like your own practice speaking test with feedback, or if you would like me to check your IELTS writing, you can request this on my Telegram channel. A link to this channel is given in the description below. But I will leave it there for now. Have a wonderful day and see you all soon. Bye bye.